You've been feeling super drained lately, like maybe the days are going by or even the weeks are going by, but you just can't seem to get anything done. Maybe the goals that you set out to accomplish in the beginning of the years that you put on your vision board, all those things are there, but somehow they keep falling to the wayside day after day. Well, what if I told you it's not a time problem you have, it's an energy problem you have? A few weeks ago, I attended this online event that Tony Robbins puts on every single year. It was an awesome event, my first Tony Robbins event, actually, and I loved it. Because I attended that event, I'm now on his email list. And earlier this week, he sent out an email that stopped me in my tracks. It actually inspired this whole topic, what this whole episode is about. And I'm really excited to share it with you because I used it, and let me tell you that it worked. Something that he said in that email was, "We are not living in a time shortage, we are living in an energy crisis." I know that could have been a mic drop right there. But then he went on to talk about how people don't fail because they lack intelligence. They don't fail because they lack opportunity or ambition. They fail because their energy is scattered, drained, or misdirected. I know, let that sink in for a minute. Is that you? I know that was me for the last few weeks. And so when I read those two quotes, it stopped me in my tracks and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's been going on with me for the last couple of weeks. And so I thought it was really powerful. I went through the rest of his framework on how to turn it around. And we're going to get into that in today's episode. So listen up so you can learn we're going to discuss how to stop the burnout, how to stop the overwhelm and drain, and instead turn it around and expand and explode with energy. This and so much more. Let's get into it. We're talking about scattered energy and how to go from scattered energy to exploding with energy. But before we get into that, I think we should talk about the two categories. When I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. But something did come up for me and I wanted to differentiate the two things, right? You could be in one of two categories. You could be in the first category where you literally do not have time. You literally do not have time to meet all the things. I've been there before where literally every single hour of your day is just there's an appointment, there's something you have to take the kid to your kids to school or to extracurricular activities, or you work, cooking, all the things. There's your side business, all the things. We wear so many hats. So there have been seasons when I literally do not have the time because every single hour I'm doing something's going on, and that's why you're feeling drained, right? Because you just have too much on your plate and it's an overwhelming season, right? But oftentimes, or maybe even within that season, there can be weeks like that. And then there can be weeks where maybe there's not everything on your plate, right? That happens to me often where it's like, okay, last week was super crazy. I was go, 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 go. And now this week is a slower week, but this week I can't seem to be productive. I can't seem to get the things done, right? And that was kind of was going on with me the last couple of weeks, right? Yes, I had some health issues that came up. And so that slowed me down a little bit. And that's 100% okay if there's a health thing, 100% slow down. But in my case, even though I had a health thing, I instead of reading or being productive or doing things that I could have still worked from, maybe lying down and things like that. Instead of being productive with my time and really intentional with that time, I was instead doom scrolling. I don't know if you can relate, but if you are on, Instagram or Facebook or just going through the news constantly and wasting your time, essentially, if you're consuming more than you're giving or creating, that might be a problem, right? So you have to first differentiate which bucket are you in. Are you feeling drained and overwhelmed because you literally do not have the time? Well, if you don't have the time, maybe it's time to delegate. Maybe it's time to look for support and help yourself and get into a better situation so you can get all the things done and not feel so drained and overwhelmed. But more often than not, we pivot between the two. And so that's what we're talking about today. If maybe it's not a time problem, it's actually an energy problem, right? So part one is we have to diagnose the real problem, right? Scattered energy. So if energy is the real issue, then what's actually draining it is something that we need to discover, right? The greatest drains Tony Robbins talks about in this email are not actually physical. We think, oh my gosh, I went to the gym. Oh my gosh, I did all these errands. That's why I'm so exhausted. But the reality is it's not really physical. Things aren't the ones that really drain us and drain our energy. It's more the greatest drains are usually emotional or they're usually mental. So it's the things that you're telling yourself in your mind. If you're talking bad to yourself in your mind, if you are dwelling on things from the past, if you are going through an emotional situation with maybe maybe your spouse or with friends or maybe in work, maybe you're having issues with colleagues at work. All these sort of emotional and mental things, those things drain you a lot more than physical stuff. So you can go to the gym, you can do a million errands, but you will not be equally drained as you will when you're going through some emotional stuff or mental stuff, right? So energy becomes scattered, drained, misdirected. It's very, so often that when we're feeling this way, things are just kind of all over the place, right? What does this look like? You can still sleep 8 hours a day and get your full night's rest, and you can still wake up feeling exhausted. I don't know if anyone's ever been there, if you've ever been there, but I've done that before, where there have been weeks or days when it's like I actually get good sleep, but I'm still drained, right? We actually talked about this too, because maybe if you are misaligned with the type of work that you're doing, if it's not aligned with your calling and your purpose, we talked about that a few months ago. I did a whole episode about that. I can link it in the show notes, but that could be draining your energy as well, because maybe you can be sleeping the whole night, but because your job is really draining you, different things that you're doing are really draining you, that can really have an effect as well, right? So what does it look like, right? Your focus is divided when you're scattered, right? Your mind is fragmented. It's all over the place. Your heart is pulled in too many directions, right? You're thinking about this thing, you're thinking about that thing. There's so much, right? A scattered energy feels like these are the kind of things you would say, what it looks like, right? Implementing. So if you have scattered energy, you might be starting but not finishing things. Hello, has anyone dealt with that, where you start something but then you don't finish it? It just kind of stays open, right? Overthinking things. I've talked about this in previous emails too. If you're overthinking a conversation that you had last week over and over and over, that can be scattered energy, because now you're thinking about a conversation that may or may not happen, either a past conversation or a future hard conversation you have, but you're thinking so much about that you're not focused on what you have to be focused on, right? Overthinking can also be like checking an email over and over and overthinking how you're going to approach a situation. So overthinking is definitely a sign of scattered energy. Comparing yourself, this is huge in social media. So often, I actually talked about this with the girls in my community. Shout out to the Purpose Co accountability community. We actually had a Galentine's event about 2 weeks ago now, and it was such a good event. We did a training on, calling and purpose, and then we did a teaching moment. So we had kind of both. We had teaching and we had coaching. A coaching moment afterwards, and it was really good. One of the things that I mentioned was, so often the things that stop us from really walking in our purpose and our calling and all that is because we are comparing ourselves to other people, right? We are saying, oh my gosh, she's so much further along, she's ahead, she's doing that thing I couldn't measure up, or that person's way more successful. Have you ever noticed that when you start comparing yourself to other people, you start getting very drained? It starts affecting you. You're not really being productive in what you got to do, right? So maybe you're comparing yourself, right? And that's one of the things we talked about on the call last week, that we cannot be comparing ourselves, because the calling that we have in our lives, it's for other people. And so often we're comparing ourselves with the metrics of other people, and that's really a hindrance. It doesn't really get us to where we're trying to get to, right? Another thing is carrying mental tabs. Does anyone, I don't know if it's like, if you're like me, but do you ever have like a million tabs open on your laptop? Well, so it is in our minds, right? So often, especially if you are a mom, if you have your own business, if you have your career, if you're a stay-at-home mom, hello, you have a million tabs. You have a million doctor's appointments and things and all the things on your agenda and things that you got to get done, calls, people in your life. There's a lot of mental tabs, and that stuff can be really draining, right? Because you're thinking about this doctor's appointment you have to book. You're thinking about you have to return this other thing. You're thinking about this project at work. You're thinking about, how do I do this? How do I do that? There's so many things going on. So mental tabs can be very, very overwhelming. It can be scattered energy, right? Reacting instead of creating. I mentioned this with social media, right? So often, especially right now, we're living in a time when everyone is so divided with everything going on in the news and politics and all that. And it can be so easy to be reactive and be reacting to all the things that are going on instead of creating, right? Instead of creating, when it comes to social media, you can be consuming social media, reacting to all the things instead of creating your own content, creating your own stuff, or creating what it looks like in your business, creating, emails, or serving clients well, creating that way. This can also look like that in your household, right? If you have young kids, you can be reacting and be reactive to their bad moods or tantrums or different things, and you can be reacting, or you can be actually creating. What does creating look like? It looks like creating intentional moments, creating memorable moments, creating the situation, being intentional with your time, right? So which side are you facing, right? That's what scattered energy feels like, right? For the last 2 weeks, like I mentioned, my energy has been very low. I've been very scattered. I did go through some health stuff And, obviously I had to slow down because of that. But also, that being said, I know that I could have used my time better. I know that there are things that I could have accomplished. Instead of doom scrolling, I could have been reading a book, or I could have been researching something. I could have been learning. I could have been way more intentional with my time than I was, right? And so, it's tough, right? Because then I did not get everything that I wanted to get done last week and this week because I was a little bit scattered. There was a lot of stuff going on too. And yes, I had the health stuff, but I so knew in my mind, you know when you are wasting time, right? You know when you're wasting time, and you know when you're being very intentional with your time, right? And so how do we change this, right? Before we get into that, we have to realize that everything in life that we're doing is it comes from two places, right? It can either be push energy or pull energy. This is what Tony Robbins explains and breaks down. And I thought it was really cool. I had never seen it talked about like this, right? He talks about push energy being pressure, fear, grinding. So think hustle culture, think grind hard, play hard, work hard 24/7, push, push, push. If you don't, go, you're going to fall behind, right? Some things that can sound like push energy are, I have to, right? If you have the thought, I have to do this, you're probably working from push energy, right? If you are thinking, I should be doing that, gosh, I should be doing that until you do stuff, that is also from push energy. You're essentially pushing yourself to do these things, right? If you are having the thoughts, I can't fall behind, I can't fall behind, that's also push energy. You're pushing yourself to get things done. It's very fear-based momentum. And let me tell you, I'm not going to say that push energy is all bad, right? Because push energy gets us to accomplish a big project. It gets us to, turn in things or show up when moments that we don't want to show up, right? Or maybe we're having a down day, but we have to show up for a work thing or for our businesses or whatever. And push energy can be used well. But the problem is so often you can live weeks in push energy. You can live months in push energy, years, maybe a year in push energy. Eventually, the problem with that is that eventually push energy will lead to burnout. And in previous episodes, I did an episode about a couple years ago about burnout and why it's such a dangerous thing for us to get to. I can link that in the show notes as well. But it's a dangerous place to be, right? And we don't ever want to get to a place of burnout because then we can't produce anything, right? Sometimes we'll be so burnt out that we're like, I just don't want to do this thing. I used to love this thing, but I don't want to even touch it, right? And so it's not really a healthy place. Yes, it can help us accomplish goals and get to things, and you can accomplish a lot with push energy, but ultimately it's not a healthy thing, right? The difference is between push energy, now pull energy. What is pull energy? Pull energy, he describes it as something that is it's compelling. It's a compelling future. It's vision. There's meaning with it. It's basically like something that's pulling you. Like you are being pulled to do this thing because you have so much vision for it. You're excited about it. You love it, right? Pull energy can look like I'm called, right? Like I'm called to do this. So of course I'm going to do this thing, right? In your mind, it can be like, this thing matters. Like I'm going to do this project because it matters, right? Another one is who benefits from this, right? Who benefits from this? So pull energy. And this is what I was talking to the girls actually about in the Purpose Co-Accountability community last week during our Galentine's call, is so often the calling and the purpose on our lives. Sometimes what stops us is for example, showing up on social media, something that can stop us from showing up being loud about what we want to do or stepping into doing the thing is fear of failure or fear of looking foolish in front of other people. And the thing that we have to get over is our calling is not about us, it's about other people. So when you're walking your calling, you're going to be blessing and serving other people. Who are the people you're called to serve, right? Think about that, right? So who benefits from this? Is it just you, or is it just you and your immediate family, or are there more people that are going to be blessed by you walking in that thing, right? So pull energy, you start thinking, man, this is going to benefit a lot of people. Me doing this thing is actually going to be a blessing to other people, and it pulls you towards your goals, right? Another point is vision-based momentum, right? So vision-based momentum is, you are excited about, you see the vision for what you're building. You see, maybe other people don't see it, but you see it, right? So there's momentum there because you see the vision, you're working towards it, you're working hard. So it's pulling you towards the vision, towards walking this thing out, right? The good thing about pull energy is that it will build you up, right? Eventually, while push energy can get you to accomplish a lot of things, it can lead to burnout, but pull energy will always build you up. It's always healthiest. You're always happier. You're more peace, right? There's so much more peace and in being in pull energy than push energy, right? when you connect what you're doing to something bigger than yourself, your reasons multiply, right? So when you're just, and I can say it, like there have been weeks where, or there's moments where it's like, I don't really want to do this podcast, where I just feel exhausted, even though I love this podcast. I love this podcast. I love the community that we're building. Shout out if you are interested in building or joining a community like the Purpose Co-Accountability Community and going after your God-given purpose and calling with like-minded women that are going to hold you with some accountability, and we're going to, walk this thing out together. We're actually doing another event in March. So at the end of March, I'm going to be doing another event talking about the power of community and accountability and all that. And there'll be some coaching time at the end. So if you want to try it out, definitely sign up. I have the wait list actually in the bottom. I'll put it in the show notes or in the comment section as well for this video. But there's so much power in walking the thing out. You're going to be building something that you love. When energy multiplies, like that is the limit, right? Sky is the limit. So when you are operating from this pull energy, not only is it going to be healthy, not only is it going to be great, not only are you going to be doing something that you love, it, you see the vision, you're building something with momentum, you're excited about it, but also energy multiplies, right? Instead of feeling drained, you're going to feel multiplied. You're going to feel expanded. You're going to feel so uplifted, right? And you probably see this in your personal life. There's things that maybe it's a hobby. It's tough to go do that hobby, but when you do it, you love it, right? Or maybe it's tough to go, to the gym, but when you go to the gym, you end up being happy, right? It's one of those things when you are working in pull energy, the energy multiplies. You're just a different person, right? It's healthy, right? And so how do we go? So yes, now you know what pull energy, you know what push energy is, the issue is really scattered energy. That's really why you're not accomplishing things. But now how do we go from here to there? Well, Tony Robbins talks about 4-step practical reset. This is what I did. I actually did it. I read through the email and I did it at that moment. And it helped me tremendously in just that moment, flip the switch and go from here to there, right? To go from push to pull and to go from like all over the place, scattered energy to focused energy. Right? And so this is what he says. He says, he talks about this, right? And step 1 is identify energy leaks. Where is your energy being leaked from, right? Where is the energy leaking mentally? Start thinking about the conversations you're having, the things, what is leaking your energy mentally, right? For me, I was consuming a lot of content. I was going down the rabbit hole with a bunch of stuff going on in the news and all that. And that was really leaking my energy, right? So my mental energy was being leaked with all this stuff, right? Where is your energy leak emotionally? Are there some emotional stuff? Are there some maybe like tough conversations you're having with friends or with coworkers, or maybe there's emotional stuff going on, within your family or your, I don't know, different groups of people that your mom, there's just different groups of people that there might be some emotional stuff, and that could be an energy leak too, right? Where else? Where are you relationally? That's the same thing, right? With relationships, where is it leaking relationally, right? Sometimes emotionally can be an internal thing. It's just like, it's not even with other people. It's an internal thing where you're emotional about certain things. Where is that energy leak? And relationally is with other people. Where is that? What's draining you? What are the conversations that are draining you? The people that are draining you, that are not uplifting you? And maybe it's digitally. This is what I talked about, doom scrolling, right? If you're doom scrolling, if you're always on social media and scrolling, that can really, really create an energy leak for you, right? So I realized that for me, like I mentioned, I was doom scrolling and it was really affecting me, right? I was getting very upset about stuff. I was so focused on this and I wasn't focused with the thing at hand, right? So it creates awareness. When you do this, you start realizing, okay, this is not healthy. I need to cut this out. I need to lessen this time. I need to focus on this, right? So identify your energy leaks is step number 1. Step number 2 is shift the meaning, right? What meaning am I assigning the thing that's draining me, right? An example is like, for example, if you're doing social media and you are creating content, you're putting in the effort, but it's not going as far as you want. It's not going viral. You're not getting all the things. Maybe instead of thinking, man, this algorithm isn't working. Gosh, I'm not good at social media. Like I suck at social media. Instead of thinking those things, maybe you need to shift your mindset to, I'm building consistency and discipline, right? If you give it a different meaning, like, yes, I'm putting in the work. It's not going the way that I want with social media, but instead you're thinking of it as, you know what, I'm building consistency and discipline. Now you take away this negative meaning and you give it a positive meaning and you're in a better place, right? It completely changes your mental state, right? So, then you need to ask, what meaning am I assigning the thing that's draining me? Am I thinking the world is such a bad place? Like, what are the things that you're thinking that are really draining you? And assign it a different meaning, right? Step 3 is build pull energy. We talked about why pull energy is so great, right? So you have to ask yourself, you have to start thinking like, what is the compelling future that you want to build for yourself, right? Ask yourself these questions is what he said. He said, who am I becoming? Ask yourself, who am I becoming? Who am I becoming in 2026, right? Who do I serve? I talked about this earlier. It's important that you know who you serve and who you feel called to serve, because that really helps you figure out your calling and your purpose and all those things. So who do you serve? Who do you serve? And it doesn't have to be something grandiose like that. It can be like, who am I serving in this moment? Is it my kids? Is it, am I serving the people in my community, the people at my kids' school, my family, my parents? Who are you serving, right? What impact does this create? So what impact does the work that I'm doing create, right? If find meaning in it, get pull energy out of, see the vision behind what you're doing. What are you working towards? It makes you feel excited and it expands your energy, right? When I reconnected with my why of why I'm building this podcast and community, like I mentioned, I had a few weeks there where I was just kind of going through the motions for a few days there. And then when I reconnected with it, oh my gosh, there's so much purpose in this. There's so much meaning in this. This is not about me. There's a bigger vision here. I'm being obedient to what God's telling me to do. When you reconnect with your why of when I reconnected with my why of why I was building this podcast, why I'm building this community, my energy came back. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get back to it. I want to start sending emails. I want to start doing social, want to do all the things, right? And so something that was, push energy, because I was pushing myself to do stuff, became pull energy, right? And the fourth step is lock in he says daily energy rituals. I like to say daily energy habits, right? So for example, that we know that it's important you have to regulate these things, right? So for example, an example of a daily ritual or a daily energy habit is move your body when it's low. If you're feeling very down, very depleted, kind of sad, kind of negative, go move your body, go do an errand, go do something, go get up and, make the bed, do something, move your body when it's low, right? Simple act of getting up, moving around it changes the state that you're in, and it helps you so much, right? You also have to ask better questions, right? Like I mentioned, what are the better questions? Instead of asking why is this happening to me? If there's a difficult situation in your life, ask yourself a better question. A better question would be, what can I learn from this situation? How can I grow? And how can I get the best out of this difficult situation? What is the good that I can pull from this to become a better person, right? Those are better questions that you can ask yourself whenever you're in a difficult moment, right? You can also shift to contribution, right? So it's important that we go from consuming to giving, right? Have you ever heard that when you are feeling down, the best thing to do is go work at a soup kitchen? Why? Or volunteer at a soup kitchen? Why? Because being unselfish, it changes your state, right? It changes if you are just consuming, but all of a sudden you start contributing, it changes your mentality. You go from negative to positive, right? It turns things around, right? So start your day with this question is the one that he suggests. Start your day with who needs the best of me today. Ask yourself that. Who needs the best of me today? Is it my husband? Is it my kids? Is it my parents? Is it my friends? Is it, do I need to really work on that project for my kids' school? Who needs the best of me today? Is it that coworker that's going through a hard time? That friend that I haven't talked to in years, but she keeps coming to mind? Who needs the best of me today, right? Make it super practical. Just who needs the best of you today? And so there you have it. If you reframe these things, burnout, think about it. Burnout isn't a weakness. You understand why it's coming about. It's okay. Burnout is something that we don't want to have, but it happens to all of us, right? So burnout isn't a lack of strength. It's a lack of alignment, like I mentioned, right? And so energy isn't something you find, it's something that you direct, is another thing that he said that I thought was powerful. Energy isn't something that you find, it's something that you direct. So when I stopped focusing on what was draining me and I reconnected with what was pulling me and that vision and all those things, my energy didn't just come back, it expanded. And I believe the same can happen for you. So to go back over it, the simple framework is you can diagnose the leak, you can change the meaning, you can reconnect to the vision, and then you can protect your state daily. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button and remember so that you can be notified with any upcoming videos. And if you want to be part of the community or interested in something like a community of like-minded people, then go sign up for the wait list for the upcoming event in March. Hope to see you next time.